The platypus is actually a really key and unique species in terms of global biodiversity. So they're the only one of its kind, and they're a really old species. They're thought to be the very first species of mammal that ever existed. So they have a lot of common reptilian features, perhaps from when the dinosaurs were around. So they still lay eggs, the males are venomous, just like a snake, yet they feed their young with milk, so they are technically a mammal.
The platypus is so peculiar that we still have a lot to learn about these vulnerable creatures, including how to best protect them from extinction.
In order to conserve a species, we first need to understand it. In terms of the platypus, that's understanding their reproduction and how they use their habitat. And being a very cryptic species, it makes it very difficult for us to study them out in the wild. They're a small brown animal that lives in a brown habitat, and they spend their time underwater or underground, and they're nocturnal. So a lot of the time, it's not that they're not there, it's just that we as humans are not very well designed to see them. So to do a population estimate on them, we set up a series of nets within the creek, and then we need to stay up all night and check the nets every couple of hours and process any animals that you capture and release. But even then, as I discovered myself even this year, they just won't go into your nets either. And they've actively been seen going up and over a series of nets, and nobody ever captured them.
Thankfully, researchers like Dr. Jessica Thomas no longer have to fumble around in the dark. Zoos Victoria have trained 6 curious canines at Healesville Sanctuary to identify the distinct odours of our most endangered species, revolutionising how wildlife is monitored and protected.
We don't care about our detection dogs' breeds. We have Labradors, Kelpies, Border Collies, even a little Lagotto, which is our smallest dog on our program. But they all share some really important characteristics, and that's that they're highly motivated for something. So that could be the tennis ball, the tug toy, food. And once we have that, we then start the dogs understanding the game of scent detection, which is actually a really basic thing. So it's find this particular smell, which could be a platypus, it could be a bawbaw frog. And once you found that smell, we then have a party. So that party could be with a tennis ball, a squeaky tug toy, a meat shower, which is basically throwing up food in the air and they have to catch it. And then once they have that understanding of this smell equals an amazing thing, we then start moving that odour into more and more complex areas and start training the dogs how to search really effectively for that smell.
Yippa, this way.
Our dogs have to love going on adventures, so all aspects of that, travelling out to the site, going through dense vegetation, these are the dogs that just think going for a hike days after days after days is just the most incredible thing. So when our dogs locate their target species, their trained alert is to sit and wait for us to come over and verify what they've found.
The idea is that we can take the dog out into an area where we know that there are platypus living, sort of run them around along the bank, and they can tell us, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's 10 in this area here. And that will allow us to sort of keep a bit closer eye on the population over time. And it's less invasive for the animals. But also in the event where we do maybe need to capture and release animals, the dogs can actually help us locate where the burrows are.
This program at Zoos Victoria has been going since 2019, and we've been slowly growing our team and our team's capacity since then. So we're lucky to now work with mammals, reptiles, amphibians, and we'll also be adding our very first bird species over the coming year, which is very exciting. One of our biggest conservation wins to date has been with our detection dog Moss. He is our 3-year-old Labrador retriever, and recently he actually discovered a broadtooth rat population adjacent to Healesville Sanctuary in the Corranderk Bushland Reserve. And this was absolutely incredible because broadtooth rats are a threatened native rodent species. They've got incredibly chubby cheeks and they're absolutely gorgeous. So that was an incredible win that we wouldn't have had without our detection dogs being involved.
The detection dog program does give me hope for the future for the platypus because by them being able to locate the animals for us, it will give us a greater opportunity to study them into the future and answer a lot of the questions that still remain about them as a species.